Hello and welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in to this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. I just wanted to kind of go into a little flow right now. So I just want to back up and say thank you guys so much for comments, sharings, all the session work that I've been doing. It's just such a wonderful collaboration because when I work with someone, it's not only for them, it's also for us. And we're kind of in this whole experience, obviously, we are in this whole experience together. And the more we can come together as a community and come together in oneness and appreciation of everybody's unique individuality and expression of the one source energy that we all come from, it just is, it becomes a beautiful collaboration and inspiration in our field and working with one another. So I just want to say thank you. Keep up all of the awesome work that you guys are doing, and moving forward in and through. So my intention with all of these videos is to assist in raising the frequency and the vibration with one another and on Mother Earth. I'm raising my own frequency. By you guys just participating, it is not necessarily doing something to you. I just want to share that with you guys. When I do work with one-on-one or in the collective, it is essentially me sharing me and my guidance team that I'm tapping into. And what it assists you in doing is realizing, oh, when you feel good, it's because you opened to it. I'm just providing a tone or a frequency or a language that you remember. So I am a conduit and I am sharing this with you guys, but you're doing the work. I'm just here to share that feeling with you or assist you in finding that feeling, or it's already all within you. If it wasn't, you would not respond to what I'm sharing with you. It wouldn't even, now some people doesn't maybe make a difference at all and they feel nothing from it, but they might when they're sleeping and not even realize it. We're all bringing our gifts to the table, and my gift is just in the sharing in the form of light language or energy that's coming through. And when you guys are expanding and receiving it, you're just tapping into more of who you are. That's all. I just want to share that too. So I'm going to go into a little flow and see what comes through. Messages from my higher guidance team for the collective, or just light language, whatever comes through in this space, in this now moment. It is my intention this to be for the benevolence for all, in alignment with the highest levels of love light. I'm trying to hone in. I have so much I want to share. I'm just trying to clear out these channels and we speak to you of kindness in this now moment. We speak to you of regality, like regal beagle. Expressing through your warmth, through your kindness to one another, in the best way that you are capable of showing one another. For in this spindle, I'm seeing a cotton candy machine, and I'm seeing this being churned up a little bit right now. And that's kind of what I see sometimes in session work, one-on-one, working with someone. You see this web around them, and the cotton candy that's being churned doesn't really have much of a shape to it. It doesn't have a lot of architecture. Excuse me. And so this is being spun right now in order to kind of reconnect these little cotton candy strings into beautiful Okay, we're going to clear in the throat. Okay. You guys are more than welcome to tap right here if you want to on the heart space. Inahak ikiki na kukua at ikiki nikia nashta kiki niana akua. Breathing in and out. Whew, a little clearing in the collective for some throat right there. Higher heart. Again, these are just energies I'm tapping into, you're tapping into. We are creating this. So I'm seeing this cotton candy spinning, and we feel like somebody is spinning our cotton candy, so to speak. We feel like somebody else is controlling that handle, and we're just stuck in this. And when I say we, you guys, it's not all of you, but this is collectively, right? So this is a big portion of the collective. When we say the collective, there are also, from my perspective, sub-collectives. You might be in like this higher density right now where you're like, I got these gorgeous shapes all around me and I'm spinning my own light. So I don't know what you're talking about. Awesome. Keep it up because you're spinning that for other people as well. They may not even know that you're doing it. But essentially what we're seeing is all of this energy is coming around us, and this cotton candy isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's pink. It's love and light. I'm not seeing it as dark. So we've got all this like feeling of this energy around us, and there are those beings who do not understand it, and they feel lighter for some reason, and it causes them to spin out. And so I'm hearing a lot of messages right now, so I'll come to some more third dimensional or linear messages at the end. I'm just going to try to stay in flow. So as these spindle fibers are shifted within our field and within our frequency, we are choosing how to form this cotton candy in our reality. And so picture like these threads of pink light kind of coming out around us. And as these threads come out around us, I see people kind of reaching their threads out, not quite sure if they should, and then kind of pulling it back in. And I'm seeing this cotton candy like these fibers of light. Not only are we getting this from our guides and our ascension team, if we want to call it that, guardians, galactics, angelics, ancestors, and it's this beautiful blanket of cotton candy, and there's also us reaching out to it. So how high up these fibers go are determined by your ability to respond to your environment. That was pretty specific. Sometimes it's very poetic, and sometimes they're just, boom, here you go. Your response ability is what is holding some back. Our ability to respond to our environmental protocols, and here we go into some plays on words. Stomach, solar plexus, our ability to respond, right? Our will, our power. Certain things have been put into place to limit our ability to respond from one perspective. From a lower frequency dimensional perspective, we think that we are being controlled when in reality we are not. We are divine sovereign beings. It is our right to sit within our own power, and we choose what shapes we are harmonizing in our cotton candy field, what fibers we are connecting with. And so the more we connect with this cotton candy, all right, let me get out of the cotton candy. I've said that enough. Huh. Now I know why they said it again. What's that song? Old times are not forgotten. Look away, Dixieland. So there's something about picking cotton. Old times are not forgotten. I don't know what song that is, but it's coming into my head. And what they're basically telling me is that a lot of beings are struggling with forgetting. Okay, now draw the line right there. We don't want to forget who we really are. Okay, so they're drawing me to forgive and forget. I'm going to use myself as an example. We're always in space. We're always, okay, so when we come into this space and we're in flow, right, we're not worried about what happened 3 days ago. We're not worried about what happened in our childhood. Okay, now I'm not saying, they're not telling me, oh, forget it all and, you know, forget that you had this abuse, for example, in your childhood. Some of us do forget that that happened as protection. And then we go have a session and we remember, holy cow, that happened. I forgot that that happened. So if we've harbored that emotion and we never felt those emotions from, let's say, a traumatic childhood event, and it's hanging on into our body, then yes, we should clear that and transition or transmute or integrate it as part of us and be in a space of higher love and light for that injury, so to speak, is the word that they're saying. And then once we get into that space of, okay, I am with my feeling, I'm feeling this feeling of anger, desire to have retribution, sadness, and you work through that or allow it. Work through is a strong word. It's just allowing and saying, gosh, that happened. Okay. Now, yes, that event has in part made you, in essence, who you are now. And you can become stronger because of that experience. And even stronger when you integrate the emotions and trauma around that event. So, what they're sharing with me, though, is that it's not meant to be carried around with us as a badge or a bag. So they're showing me people wearing these traumas like a badge of honor. And what they're guiding me to share is that we've all held trauma. It's not like some people are falling into that category of martyrs, saying this happened to me, therefore this is who I am. And while on certain levels that is correct, they're inviting us to be a little bit more expansive and to step out of that box and realize that and love that portion of us. So, for example, I had traumatic trauma in my childhood. And I'll share that perhaps in another video because someone asked me to share that as a question about where I am and how I got to be where I'm at. And I know I still have things that come up from time to time where I go, oh, I forgot that happens. That was buried in the recess of my brain. Ooh, my hip is really sore. Oh, I forgot that that happened. And so I'm at that stage where I see it, I feel it. Oh, okay, I feel anger. Thought I was through with that. Apparently I wasn't. Let me just go and take that salt bath or get that massage, go in the ocean, go do some gardening and let it go. Or I ask to integrate it and I sit with it and I love it. And I, or I send more forgiveness to the person who created, from one perspective, that's another ball of wax, who created this trauma. Although from another perspective, I created this trauma because it's a shadow version of, so I won't get into all that right now. But you get where I'm going with this. So I'll send forgiveness, love and light, because that's the stage that I'm at in my life, okay? That may not be where everybody is at. That may not be where some of the people in the collective are at. I honor everybody when where they're at in their journey, as we are being invited to honor everybody where they are at. This is from my perspective, and they're inviting me to share this. So now I love and I send gratitude for showing me, universe, what it is I'm still integrating, or this shadow aspect that I haven't integrated, or this feeling that I was ignoring and was manifesting in my lower back. All of these are different perspectives and different examples. Getting back to the cotton candy in just a minute. So those are old, those are things that happened, for example, when I was a child, right? Which blocked as a collective, you guys, how many beings out there? So again, back to the badge of honor. I was, etc. I was abused, therefore I am this person now. There's truth to that, but again, are we limiting ourselves because of that, or are we growing from it and saying, yeah, that's who I am? And now I'm using that to help others to realize that they are not a victim any longer. They are not, just that this makes sense, see where I'm going with this? I'm seeing what's happening is there are, think about all the people that were abused. I'm using the scandals with the priests, for example, in the Catholic Church. So now you've got people that are maybe that haven't even come out that were traumatized when they were kids, and maybe they don't even remember that they were. And for some reason, all this stuff is being stirred up. Thousands, you guys, thousands of people, maybe even hundreds of thousands. I mean, it's that big. So now you've got all of these people that are realizing that this happened, or admitting that it happened, and it's still being very, so what is associated with that? I'm seeing this as they're referencing this to the cotton. So somebody's churning the cotton candy. We'll say the universe is being churned and all this stuff is coming up in the collective. And we're being invited to not only hold space for ourselves as this stuff comes up, because some of us thought we worked through those traumas, but then all of a sudden we hear this on the news and it brings up a lot of other things that we didn't realize we were still angry about. I'm using that as an example. Or we're angry that this happened to others, especially children, right? Then there's those people who were traumatized as children and they want, okay, so that's a whole other cotton candy spiral. So we're being invited to sit with this and allow the churning to occur in our field so that we can clear up these old, I'm seeing them as like nodules, like energy cysts, nodules in our body. And the more we can come together and support each other in love and light, the faster this will cleanse, heal, and bring us more into alignment with our power. Because there are steps. And there are those who were victims, I say this lightly, who are still victims in every aspect of their life. And we all know who those beings are. We've all maybe been there, you know. And so these victims are saying things like, well, I was abused. I was this. I was neglected. I was X fill in the blank. My parent was an alcoholic, therefore I am this way. And there is that stage. But we're also being invited to see what we are not. I am not my parent. I am not the little child who was abused, right, by their parent, for example. I am not that person any longer. That person is a part of me, yes, and I now choose to integrate that wounded child so that I can love that portion of me that felt ashamed, that felt mistrust, that felt fear. And in doing that, we realize all of these other things that those are tied to now. Perhaps it's tied to mistrust in friendships or relationships. Perhaps it's fear of being able to express your divine feminine or your divine masculine because of the trauma that was perhaps in your life when you were perhaps abused as a child. And I'm talking about the collective, you guys. This is just one aspect. They're showing me like so much. So in one picture of abuse, it could be sexuality. In another, it could be physical, that control of domination. And another, it could be mental or emotional, verbal abuse. Another, it can be that you're never good enough or never worthy. Another can be abuse in the form of lack of self-care, like your parents, for example, or like alcoholism. You know, they maybe didn't abuse you, but there was a certain aspect of them that you could never connect with. So there's this disconnect, can be abuse. Being ignored is a form of that. So all these different things are kind of being churned up right now for a lot of beings, including in us as a collective, right? And so we're being invited to recognize that and step outside. And when I say outside, it's step outside of that wounded being, not ignore it, not pretend like it didn't happen. However, not go back into that over and over and over again, and continually be the victim. So it's no longer about, yes, we want to bring to the surface who was doing it perhaps, or how it was done, so that this doesn't ever happen again, right? Again, we're being shown what we don't want. So now that we know what we don't want, and we now know who we don't want to be, we don't want abusers and controllers, and we don't want to be victims, we don't want victims, it comes a point when we're being invited to step out of that and embrace who we really are, which is not a victim. We are now being invited to take back that power and take back that control, and no longer give that old energy. I'm seeing picking cotton, like that's old energy. Like, you know, we were working with, not that it's old energy, cotton still gets picked and we still pick cotton, but that's an old song. It's another example of how Spirit talks to us in symbols. I see it as very old, like back in the days of, you know, back in the days of our ancestors, you know, and we're clearing for that too, because we also still have that energy in the form of discrimination, you know. That's something that we don't want that. That's not who we want to be. And that certainly isn't who we as light beings are. We are not someone that dictates to someone else how they should behave based on their color, or based on their religion, or based on their sex, or based on their status, which is a whole other video, in this social networking society. This is flow, you guys. They're bringing this all in together, because they're also showing me that cotton candy web is also the internet. So it's stirring the pot a lot, and so we're being invited to be careful about what we're plugging into there too. And if we're being triggered by something, I've said before, like, don't watch it, turn off the TV, but that's only if you realize it. If you're being triggered and you don't realize it, stop and maybe ask, whoa, I just got triggered by that. Wow, I am still triggered by, you know. And if you're here to do something about it, you know, A, that's not how you're going to behave. You're not going to teach your children to behave in this discriminatory way. And you're certainly not going to feed back into it by creating more hate, by creating more distrust, right? I'm seeing divine feminine, divine masculine. Well, you can't trust this person. You can't trust that person. Well, in the old frequency, we're waking up and we're stepping up to learn about more who we are, so that when we're around someone, we feel whether that person is trustworthy or not. That's where we're going with this. Our intuition is kicking in, and we feel if someone on television is lying or spinning a web. We listen to someone and we get it in our gut. Not like we're clearing energy and clearing cords. That's a different feeling. But if it's that feeling like, ooh, that feels yucky, you know, Maybe that person isn't in full alignment with their true self, and they're in alignment with something that isn't beneficial for all. So we're being invited to kind of step outside of that victim mentality, because we certainly don't want to give someone else power to fix the problem. We have to fix it from within us. And not continuing to let this happen is key by putting up our boundaries, but not doing it in the form of hate. And that's kind of where we're going. It's like, how do we do that? Well, we do it by coming together and creating a safe space for people to be themselves, a place of non-judgment, and not yelling out hate and condemnation for someone who doesn't agree with your perspective, even though you may be right. I use that word loosely. Even though you may be right, that does not mean that we are here to be mean to someone else about it, or to push someone else, our belief system, on them. But what we can do is offer a space from light and say to someone, you know, that doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't feel right in my heart. I honor you for whatever you believe. And I would appreciate it if you would honor respect, and you would honor love and light, honor Mother Earth, honor the divine feminine. You know, that doesn't mean by putting down men, for example, just as women were treated a certain way for the last how many ever years, right? That doesn't mean we should go and say, ah, typical man. That we're changing all of that, right? We don't want to reinforce a typical man. Sorry, all you guys out there. I'm just using this as a reference, a platform here. And just as if you had somebody, a parent who was an egotistical male, you can also have egotistical females, doesn't matter. But somebody who, women can't do that. They weren't meant to. This is how it should be, right? I had that in my family. I get it, but it's backing up and saying, all right, guys, gals, women, men, oneness, unification. Let's honor the divine feminine. Let's honor the divine masculine. And from that space, allow ourselves to come together and say, you know what? Maybe that's not a word that I would like to use, or I don't want to have that word in my, you know, hate, egotistical, typical, you're wrong. How could you? Judgment, 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 judgment. So we're being invited to let go of that judgment, even though we might feel justified, right? However, it's better to work from behind the scenes in a different way. So you can send that energy. You know, I ask for love and light to surround this situation. If someone's, you know, been hurt or traumatized, they might be in that space of hate, anger, and fear, and that they have every right to experience that. But you know better. I know better. We know better. And we are the ones to bring forth that energy of knowing that we are better than that. That we do not need to stoop to putting someone else down, even if they're wrong. Right? Even if they're in the form of, let's say they harmed someone else, do no harm, that would be the only thing I would maybe throw into a space of being considered wrong, right? They harmed someone else. Yes, let's bring that to the surface. Let's do what we need to do about it, but don't keep throwing stones and throwing stones and throwing stones and throwing stones, because there comes a point when we need to support all these beings that were hurt. We need to support, and we need to understand that we don't want this to continue to happen. So it's not about, again, being in that space of, and I'm being guided to talk about support groups too. There's a new way that we can be a support group for our brothers and sisters. And what they're sharing with me is supporting one another through proactive capabilities. So if you are, let's say, a light worker and you do artwork, and you were maybe perhaps abused as a child, and you decide that you want to go out and connect with other beings who were abused, rather than starting a hate group or starting some page about this person's wrong, we need to rise up, we need to be angry. Yeah, that's the first step. But then the next step is to say, all right, there comes a point when we are invited not to be constantly in this. You know, I'm seeing Billy Idol. But also being like, all right, let's integrate that and let's change this energy into a new form. Let's move it forward, all right? Let's create something. And you can create a group that comes together and paints their feelings in artwork and then shares it and raises money to bring awareness to these particular situations. It's all about our ability to respond. Are we just responding by sitting there and judging all day long? Responding on Facebook, responding in whatever, in conversation? Yes, we need to talk about it. Yes, it's important to get it out there, right? On some level so that it can be addressed. But it's equally, if not more so important, to respond by integrating those emotions and not continually feeding anger, 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 victim, 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 victim. Because there comes a point when we want to step into our power. We've set the tone, we've taken our power back. Now what are we going to do with it? So that's where we're all tapping into this network and saying, I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to share my light language. This person's going to share their writing. This person's a mathematician. They're going to go out and share sacred geometry and share, you know, these kids that maybe are really into math and are so left-brained and analytical that they can't get into their heart. Maybe there's somebody out there that can go say, all right, I'm going to teach heart math to these kids who are, you know, really smart, but they're too one way. Or these adults, right, go and teach heart math to a bunch of mathematicians, so that they can be like, wow, I can be doing this from my heart, and who knows what more will come through once I get into a space of coherence. Whew, I know that was a lot. I was only planning on going short there, but a lot's coming through just about all of these energies. So again, we're kind of in this like in-between space where we're still anchoring certain frequencies. And this is ruffling a lot of feathers. Right? There's a lot of birds, for example, who really liked being in this space of shadow, of feeling, woe is me, the world is falling apart. And now that seems like, and there's this other aspect that's like, the world's not falling apart, you know? So it's finding that, you know, coming together and assisting one another and doing this together. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys because this is what's coming through. So, in love and light, I'm going to do another video after this with some more lightweight language and frequencies and all of that. So, thank you. Namaste, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much just for being who you are.